Kia ora everybody, you're tuning into Dr. Burst from Tamaki Makaurau in Aotearoa. For those tuning in for the first time, the Pavilion project is a wooden structure located in Henderson. Basically every 2 months we get it repainted by different artists with a new design, with a provocation for each artist, inspired by the Okanuku stream which runs underneath the site. The structure itself was designed by students from Unitec and the School of Architecture, and the project is funded by Eka Panuku Development. In this month's iteration of the Pavilion, we had the super talented Eva Fuemana, who is a Niuean and Māori artist originating from the South Auckland suburb of Otara. Her mural work in particular is spread throughout Tamaki Makaurau, and she's collaborated with several arts organisations, exhibited in galleries, and travelled to one place in particular, Dubai, to represent our country. As well as practicing tikanga in her daily life, her art is a visual representation of her identity. So without further delay, let's crack straight into the conversation. So Eva, maybe to kick things off, could you introduce yourself and let us know who you are?
Hi, my name is Eva Fuemana. I am from Auckland City, born and raised. I'm Niuean Māori. My mum's Pākehā as well. I'm an artist, I guess a visual artist. I work usually on large-scale murals and also digital design as well.
Awesome. And how long have you been based in Auckland this whole time?
Yeah. So all over Auckland. I was born on the shore, moved out south with my family where my dad's from, so in Otara. Just lived all in between, went to school in the city, so everywhere.
What was life like growing up in Otara?
It feels good in a weird way, like it's home. Compared to, I live in the city now. It feels safe. It's very community based. Everyone knows my family there, so never any trouble. I know it's got a bad rap, but
What's got a bad rap for people that don't know?
Otara is the hood. It's like the hood of the hood. It has, since the 90s, just had a real high gang population there. A lot of gang wars, a lot of crime, lots of shootings. Well, that's the gist of it. If you live there though, it doesn't feel that way. It's safe. If you're not involved in that kind of, style of life, that culture, then you're fine. But it's just got a pretty bad rap for the people. It's not fair. It's not a fair rap.
But a lot of positive things have also come from out south.
Yeah. Tons of art, a lot of amazing artists out there, incredible community workers. My dad was a musician. He's from out there. He did pretty well.
And for the people that don't know, what type of music did he make?
He is Puli Fuemana, so he's from OMC. He did How Bizarre, so that's probably his big one. Went all around the world with it, platinums. He's probably like our shining star, I feel like, in Auckland. So he came from Otara, no parents. Parents, but they weren't really there. He was in the system. It's pretty incredible what he did, especially from where he came from. Like if you grew up in the Otara in the 90s, you'd probably know. Like it wasn't a good place to be if you were a kid, boys' homes, all that sort of thing.
And so with your dad being a musician and for people that don't know, into hip hop, did that have any kind of subsequent influence on you to be interested in that type of music, or are you interested in something completely different?
I'm interested in everything. My dad was very interested in everything. Like he really loved Velvet Underground. He was into everything. But 90s hip hop. My first CD he ever burnt me was De La Soul. So hip hop's definitely a big factor for me, but I'll listen to anything.
And so kind of just coming back a little bit, I guess, to your Niuean and Māori heritage or background, cultural background, do you feel connected to those roots?
After my dad passed away, my mum put me into Māori language school, so I'm fluent in Māori. Niuean, we've always been my dad spoke Niuean at the home, so I'm very tight with my culture. I try and represent it in my art as well.
And do you feel like you get many kind of opportunities, whether it's through your art or just being part of those communities, to be involved with your culture. Because, and what I mean by that, I guess, is we live in such a westernized world, and down to the places, the institutions and the galleries and the corporate worlds we work in, and it's a very westernized world. Where do you, I guess, find the opportunity to kind of connect with your culture, represent, or just feel connected in that way?
I think I'm very spiritually connected to my Māoritanga. I still follow tikanga pretty heavily in just my day-to-day. I also, with art, regardless of what the theme is, I always try and push Māoritanga in it. Either way, whether it's in patterning, symbolism. It's kind of just ingrained in me at this point that I feel like I need to do it all the time because that's who I am. I can't really do anything else. I couldn't do the westernized thing because I've been in it so long, and Māori education, knowing about like where I'm from and where my people are from. And if it doesn't, I'll make sure it does.
Because I feel like so many of my friends who are Māori, I feel like they're kind of just going through, for the past couple of years, getting reconnected with their culture, which is super awesome really to see. Cool. It's really inspiring. Whether it's going to full immersion, Māori, or representing it through their art, I feel like they're just reconnecting with their roots. So it's awesome to hear that it's kind of been a relatively smooth journey for you.
I think it helps that I'm from this generation. I'm sure like 10, 20 years ago it was impossible. I feel really grateful with where social media and technology is, that our culture's been shared the way it has been. I can definitely see where it would have been a struggle if you didn't have that connection back 20 years ago. Like, that's not possible.
We're growing up out south. You said you kind of been all over the place a little bit. Where did you go to high school?
I went to Western Springs College. I started in Ngā Puna o Waiuria, the Māori unit. I got kicked out of there.
What did you do?
Springs. I didn't do anything bad. There was just some like politics things that maybe I didn't agree with the school. Ended up in Western Springs College. From there just stayed Springs. It's a good school. It's a very good school for art.
What were some of the main subjects that you liked at that time? Was it already art, or were there other things as well?
I liked maths, but it was all art. I pretty much dropped it. By senior year. I had dropped every traditional study and done every single art. So it was visual arts, art history, digital design, and photography. And then I think I had to do math, but I would just whack it. I wouldn't show up. If I had a chance to just sit there and draw all day, I was going to take it. And I had a really cool teacher who would let me get away with wagging, sort of. She let me sit in class, hide there, and, do my thing.
In your time studying visual arts, did that already, I guess, plant a seed for you in terms of knowing what you wanted to do when you left? Like, did you already know you wanted to be an artist? Or was it still something that you were like, I kind of like this, I could do that? Or when you were doing art, did you already know?
That's pretty much all I knew. I thought from a very young age, that's all I wanted to do. My parents were my dad was a painter as well. So it was like just in my life for such a long time. And then I went to visual arts, with Springs, learned so many different ways to do it. And I was set. I knew that's all I wanted to do.
And when you were at Western Springs doing art, what type of art were you making at the time?
It was like lots of little paintings and things. I used oil, digital art, so graphic design, photography. With painting, my first ever mural was with Springs. It was a little 100 centimeter by 100 centimeter panel, and it took me like weeks to do. But from there, that was like, I was set on it. I was very into a lot of like painting dead animals, if you get what I mean. Like my mural was dead rabbits in this reef. And then also kind of channeling back into my Polynesian heritage, Māori heritage. So it's kind of a mix of all of those things.
And so after you finished at Western Springs, did you carry on going to study at art school? I mean, that's a kind of conventional trajectory somebody would go on. What did you do next?
So I didn't at first. I had left home pretty early, so I just started working. I also picked up a bunch of walls. That was like my first few murals. So I was painting on the side, doing exhibitions. And then eventually, like within the last couple of years, I decided to go to uni and get proper education for it. Yeah, so it wasn't straight away. I was very focused on like trying to make some money, establish myself first.
What was your first job?
I worked at the pools. I worked at the cafe, and then I became a lifeguard. I was working during high school, so from 16 I moved out.
So I'm really interested to know, so once you went on to this journey of studying, you mentioned that you went to media design school.
Yes.
Which I think is kind of interesting, because I guess my thinking of all the things that you've done in terms of your projects, that's more of like a visual arts kind of painter direction. But at media design school, there, for people that don't know, a lot of the focus there is like quite digital stuff and graphic design. So could you tell me about your experience at media design school and what kind of led you down that road?
Yeah, I loved it. I always thought career-wise it would be good for me to branch out, not just paint. I thought there was more of an opportunity there in digital design, especially where, you know, the world is at the moment. There was a lot more career-wise options for me. I found it hard at first to kind of translate what I would usually do into Adobe. But as soon as the lecturers there are incredible. They taught me a ton and they made it very enjoyable. This isn't a promotion to them or whatever. But yeah, it was cool there, just learning all of the different kind of areas that I could move into, because I was doing graphic design, media design, 3D, just the whole lot, everything. They showed us how to do everything and all of the best industry programming. Yeah.
And out of all the digital knowledge and skill sets that they taught you, what was the thing in particular that you were kind of focusing on? Like, is your interest, you know, laying out publications and making posters, or are you interested in 3D modeling? What is the thing that's like kind of caught your attention the most?
Yeah, it was definitely graphic design and graphic art. I also really just wanted to learn how to vectorize. So
illustration.
Yeah, illustration, definitely. And just learning how to do vector helps with what we already do. You know, if they want digital installations rather than just a paint, then I can do that for them.
And how long did you study at media design school for?
It was just a year's study. Yeah. 2 diplomas out of it though, so it's worth it.
What was the name of the qualification?
It was DCF, Digital Creativity Foundation. So it teaches you just the whole spectrum of all of their like Adobe suite. Yeah, good for the CV.
Love it. I mean, yeah, I think I mentioned that when we were painting the pavilion, like I also studied there back in, 2006 or 7 or something.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure it's kind of changed a lot now. But that's awesome to hear that that place is still doing so well. And
they're so cool.
Yeah. So in this, I guess, painting space and mural space, one of the things that I looked up online, and it might be one of your early murals, or I don't know if it's the first, the Richmond Rovers Rugby League Club in Grey Lynn. Could you tell me a little bit about what that is and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, that's not my first, but it's very early, probably like my 3rd or 4th. It was like my first ask, because I started in Avondale. It was my first commission outside of Avondale in Central. Richmond Rovers, the league club. It's very classic. Still got a huge Polynesian community there. The painting I did there was very guided towards Polynesian culture. I thought it was a little funny to have like women with malu and Greyland Park, where it's not as brown as it used to be. Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was a really cool experience. I had some dodgy scaff there. I don't even think I got paid, but it was probably like the best. Yeah, probably one of my favorite times painting.
How did you get that mural job?
It was through Creative Souls Project. So they're not as active anymore, but they were a community kind of a social working group in Avondale run by Diane. She would pick up little, young artists, take us around, give us walls to paint. She had good connections. There were musicians there, all sorts. But yeah, she gave me my start really in Avondale. She gave me a lot of walls. I got introduced to all of those community members, and then it just kind of, the ball started rolling. It's just this lady that she just got all of these little young artists, musicians, and gave them opportunities in the community.
Tell me what there's a huge list of projects here. And once again, I'm kind of probably going in a non-linear kind of chronological order of things. But what's your involvement been with Avondale? Because I know that you've done a handful of things there. So where did that begin and how has that kind of evolved?
Yeah, Creative Souls Project. She got me some really cool little walls around there. I met some of the other community members. We all really got along. They always kind of propped me up. Whenever they had a wall, they would, ask if I wanted to give it a go. And yeah, I just kind of tried to develop my skills there. And within the last couple of years, I go back there sometimes to run projects and things, a little more professionally than what I was doing when I was a kid. That's just where I've started. Most of my walls, I think, are probably in Avondale, like maybe 7 or 8 of them.
And maybe this is jumping a little bit forward in the timeline, but at some point you participated in the 2019 Upstairs Art Gallery. Where was that?
That's crazy. That was probably like my first out of like adult exhibition. That's in Titirangi, so it's right next to Te Uru. It's just a little, again, community-based art gallery. I met a lot of cool artists there. I went back a few times to do exhibitions after that, maybe 2 more times. Again, just like these small community gallery spaces that just do so much for just local artists. And they're always very nice to come and let me put some work in there. I'm not even West Side, but
they're showing you love.
Yeah, they're just very kind people. But yeah, that was the Emerging Artists Award. So that was like my first kind of, I felt real cool doing that one. There was an amazing judging panel. I didn't win, but it was a very cool experience.
Because there's obviously the mural space and doing projects in the community in that space. But then what we're kind of talking about here is you exhibiting in galleries and things, which and having a studio practice, and that's kind of quite a different trajectory of work. Has it always been your intention or focus to do stuff in the studio for things like galleries, or do you kind of prefer, being out there doing murals in the community, or do you just juggle both? What is your kind of approach to those two things?
Initially, it was galleries. I love doing exhibitions, but more recently, I've really fallen into I love painting big things. It's really hard now to go back to painting smaller canvases. I bloody love painting a wall. I like the environment. I like meeting the people that are like hanging around that area. Sometimes it feels a little dodgy. I enjoy that kind of side of things more than I enjoy just painting at home and criticizing myself for hours.
I totally agree, and I think that I just love the freedom of painting large scale and being out there and being exposed in some way. You know, it's not like you're in your own space creating this like magical thing, and then suddenly when you have the exhibition, it's like a big reveal.
Yeah, but then it's kind of over after that. Like once the exhibition closes,
it's a big climax to like get to that, and then you drop off and you disappear again, and it's like that. Whereas for me, I feel like when you're outdoors, you're constantly being seen, and you know, you're going from project to project, and it's a bit more kind of wavy.
Yeah, and every time it's different. It's a different environment every time. Even if you're in the same area, like you meet new people. Yeah, I definitely prefer that, being outdoors painting. I've had like people try and rob me. I've had all sorts. It's a very fun time. I feel like I built some skin off of that rather than being at home painting. You know, you only have yourself to bounce off of. When you're out there, people will tell you if your work's bad or not.
Yeah.
You know, but like they've said it was too political. I get that a lot.
How do you respond to those people when you get that kind of criticism?
Just say thanks. Just thanks for the opinion, mate. Like it used to affect me, but now I kind of enjoy it. If someone thinks the work is too deep, or like they don't want to understand it, I like that.
What do you want people to feel or think when they see your mural work?
I think at the moment I want people to reflect on their ideals, you know, like what they have priorities for, if you get what I mean. Like I want people to look at it and think about how they treat other people. Right now, a lot of my work is based off of the current government change. Obviously, the treaty is getting pulled up a lot. So a lot of my work is kind of based around that. I still paint it really pretty. Like, I use pretty colors, but it does have a meaning. And usually, if someone's kind of filled with that hate, they can see it and they don't like it, which I enjoy. But I don't want them to like it. That art's not for them.
You describe your work as political? Is that the kind of undertone to what it is?
I think it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's like the political meaning. A lot of it's just kind of celebrating Māoritanga and being Polynesian. I would say it's more, it's a celebration. Not necessarily political, but if you feel a certain way about, you know, Māoris or, you know, just anyone that's not white, then you're probably not going to like the work. If that makes sense.
I guess one thing kind of building off this notion of working out there and creating murals in the community and things like that, I know that you've also done some things with All Goods Gallery in Avondale. Could you tell me a little bit about your relationship with them and maybe some of the things that you've done?
They're real tight. Yeah. They're cool as. That was another one of my first murals. I painted their little panel, All Goods Art Gallery panel. They've been probably the major influence on me. The amount of work they give me and support, obviously. Yeah, they're bloody incredible. I've done just one little group exhibition there, and then most of like my more recent walls are for them. Some of them are at the food parcel place, Haven. But yeah, most of my work's through them.
What do you think the role of having a place like All Goods is to a community? Because that is, to me, it's not like a commercial, you know, like fine art gallery or something. Like it's a space more than anything. What do you think about the role of places like All Goods in the community?
I think they're so important. I think that's like the heart of a community. Those spaces should be protected, really. I think kids especially need those outlets. They don't get them anymore. Having them for how long they've been there as well is incredible. yeah, they're super important to communities. I wish we had more of that out in Otara. We don't, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know, like, I can see what All Goods has done for Avondale in the long run. Like, the events they hold just gives some people something to be excited about, something to look forward to. You know, Otara, you don't have that.
So with you living in the city now, which communities throughout Tamaki Makaurau do you feel the most connected to?
Otara first, just because that's like where my granddad immigrated there. My dad was born and raised there. A weird one, Avondale, for sure. That's like, it feels like Otara to me, just like happier. Central, not really. There's not like the biggest community vibe there at all. But yeah, I think Otara and Avondale for sure. All the other places I grew up like don't stand a chance against them.
I find that one real interesting, because this idea of community, because I think about where I stay and I don't even know the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, for me to say, oh, that's where I'm from, but I don't really know much people there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, same thing for me. I feel more connected to Avondale because that's where a legal wall is for people to paint graffiti, you know, and that's where my subculture of people kind of like hang out and where they contribute art, and that's where I contribute art. And it's like, for me, I just feel like there's so many possibilities to use things like art to bring people together, and the fact that there's a space like All Goods is like just super important.
It's like a safe spot. Like anyone can go in there and have a tea.
Yeah.
And that legal wall, I feel like I've met a lot of people down there that have become really good friends. Yeah, and that thing you said about knowing your neighbor is so important. Like Otara, we know our neighbors, which is why it feels like home compared to when I grew up on the shore. We didn't know them. Like, big gates, no one knows each other.
Kind of moving on to some other projects that you've done, which is kind of somewhat linked to All Goods, is your involvement with For the People. And recently, correct me if I'm wrong, you painted a mural at Archibald Park in Kelston.
Did. That was probably my most recent. That was in February. It's been pretty quiet this year. For the People was through All Goods, so they're like pretty much the same. They all kind of run in that same circle. Jody got me that wall. That was probably my favorite one so far, painting that, and it was the fastest. We did it in like 2.5 days. It was easy. It was a full wrap of the whole building. That's the one that got a lot of critique from people, which was all good. That one was probably when I realized that my art should mean something to somebody, and I wanted it to be for Kelston. You know, it's a lot of brown people out those ways, and I wanted the art to like mean something to them. You know, it was a lot of moldy designs, chains and things. I thought it looked really cool, but you know, some people aren't gonna be as susceptible to that. Not everyone's gonna accept it, which was all good. That was probably the one where I was commenting on the treaty things in a big way. Like, it was very much just about the treaty. Like, all of the symbolism kind of related back to healing and how that should be important right now, not destroying things that don't need to be destroyed.
There's a lot of crazy shit happening.
Oh, everywhere.
It's
all over.
It feels like on an international scale, just it feels really chaotic.
Oh, it feels like apocalyptic.
Yeah, it actually does.
Like, I don't think we've ever had this much going on at the same time. The economy sucks. Everyone's in a recession. Like, indigenous people's rights are being stripped away. Like, wars are happening, genocides. Yeah, it's a terrible time to be alive.
But on a positive note, one other project that you did up in Whangarei with a good friend of mine, Talk, you painted a mural together, bit of a collab for the Rugby World Cup. Could you tell us how that kind of happened and what it was like collaborating with another artist?
Talks, he's so cool. We met over in Dubai.
Which is another awesome project, which we'll talk
which
about.
is cool too. He was looking for a female artist to bring on. It was for the Women's Rugby World Cup. We did two walls up there. It was just incredible learning from him. Like, he's a monster. He's crazy, and he was just doing things so quick. He showed me so much up there. Even like down to the design processes. Like, we designed the second mural together. That was a cool learning experience. It needed to be culturally relevant. Female rugby players, kind of looking after our women, a lot about, looking after womanhood, girlhood. Except there was like a thing that we couldn't use any real rugby players or any real faces. So we had to make up faces for the portrait. Oh, I think my shoulder's in there. You used my shoulder. So I was pretty, and my hand's in there too. So I was stoked about that. So we pushed the Māori thing pretty hard. That was such a cool learning experience in general. It like set my priorities so different to what I was focusing on before.
What's the largest mural you've painted?
Those ones were pretty bloody big. Those ones were huge. I'm trying to think. They all kind of like fall to the back of my head. Maybe those ones were the biggest. They were like 3-story, almost 2 or 3 stories. The biggest alone was probably, I did like a 40-meter square underpass up in Gosford. I didn't post it, but
Amazing.
That was a battle.
It's gigantic.
Yeah, and it was like 360, the roof, both sides.
Did you have a sore neck after that?
Yeah, sore neck, sore back,
Sore everything.
knees, and I was trying to speed through it, so it was like, I think 4 days.
Painting murals, especially large ones, there's a huge physicality to it.
Yeah.
And recently, I know that we were scheduled to do the pavilion a little bit earlier, but you told me that you had just come off an injury, actually.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So I've had like tendonitis in one of my hands for like 6 years.
Do you think it's from the art?
It's from the art and sport when I was a kid. But my hand just locks up all the time. It's my left hand, which I write with. And then the other one was a gym injury, but it's just overuse just destroys your hands and wrists, and then your shoulders as well. That physical side of doing murals sucks.
And so what are you doing at the moment to prevent or recover from those injuries?
So I used to be very heavy into weightlifting. I don't anymore. It's very rare that I'll lift any weights. I just do a lot of cardio, stretch, try and rest. I'm not picking up as many walls as I usually would, just because I want to ease up. Last year I was just going ham. I probably did, I don't even know how many walls, 15. In really like quick time frame, very small time frames. I realized that was probably the worst idea ever, and it made all my injuries way worse, heal way longer, took ages to heal. So this year I'm taking a bit of a break, no more weightlifting, just running tons.
Amazing. I think one thing that's probably not discussed so much actually in the mural community is these kind of like hazards. And imagine, it's kind of like, I guess, if you're a tattooist, tattooing all day, every day, 10 hours or something, exactly. So same thing with murals. What happens if you're painting murals 10 hours every day for a whole year? How sustainable is that? What is the impact of that on people's body, and what you need to do to prevent those things?
And you get in like some weird, I don't know if you've noticed this, you get in weird positions to get to certain spots when you're painting. You're putting a lot of weight on weird areas. It would be interesting to see how people I mean, I guess Charles and Janine would be.
Get a toll on the body.
Yeah, it's physical. I don't think people understand. I think people think it's like I don't know how people feel about mural art, but it's physical. It takes a lot of work, and mentally it's straining. Like you're just staring at a wall for 12 hours a day.
On a positive note,
It's fun.
yeah, it is fun. And that fun has taken you to Dubai at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's called Expo Dubai in 2022.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about how that opportunity came about?
Otis Frizzell posted something on Facebook. He's friends with my parents. And he was like, oh, we're looking for submissions for designs from younger artists to come to Dubai with us. I put in a little painting of my baby brother. He's my favorite. Put that in. Somehow it got accepted. Then the artists kind of switched around. This is when I met Hazza and Talk. I also met Gary. So it's kind of like the Olympics of like culture. It's every 4 years, goes to different countries. I think just recently it was in Japan. Next one, 2028, is in South Korea. Basically every single country gets a pavilion there. They build it however they like, and they showcase all of what they think is incredible about their country.
Right.
So ours, 2020 Dubai was amazing. It was a lot about like our water, about our rivers and our nature. It wasn't really like farming or anything. A lot about like Māori culture and how it's important.
And you guys, as artists, visual artists, created a bit of a mural, did some live painting. What other components were there representing Aotearoa?
So we were like a main event, I want to say. We had kapahaka as well. A lot of kapahaka, I think. Oh, and some incredible chefs. It's Karina and Casey. The sisters, they won MasterChef. They were there. We had a restaurant in New Zealand Pavilion, and they were just doing like Māori food and like giving it to just millions of people from all over the world. So everyone kind of experienced, Henderson.
Amazing. And what did you think of Dubai?
Oh, it's incredible. It's huge. Like the skyline never ends. Gary, N+1, he's based there. He's from Auckland. But he took us to like all of the old Dubai and all the cultural spots. So we didn't just see the flashy, we saw everything. It's very loud. It's loud there. Everyone's got a supercar. And the workers there are incredible. Like just the nicest people on earth. It's a bit of a culture shock, but yeah, it's probably my favorite place I've ever been to.
Wow. And yeah, so that looked like a freaking awesome trip. How long were you over there for?
Can't even remember. It felt like ages. I think it was like three weeks, maybe. It was supposed to be 6 months, I believe, the first time we signed the contract, but because of COVID, it just got pushed and pushed. Then we needed isolation, and yeah. Oh, we also had royal family that was there. They were dancing. We had all the dancers were there doing their thing. 660 was there as well. So we were like sharing a hotel with 660. Shared isolation with them too.
Awesome.
Got to watch them live. There was like 3,000 people there. It was good.
Work. So it's kind of interesting that you mentioned COVID. I'm just interested to know. Obviously, there was the COVID period, and then now we're kind of living in this post-COVID or living with COVID era or phase. Did COVID affect you and what you did in your work in any way?
It definitely quieted down over the real heavy COVID period. Economically, there wasn't as much money going around. That's when I really focused on digital art, just because it was an easy way to like do work, get it out to people, and not have cross-contamination. I painted a coffee machine for Dubai over COVID period while we were in lockdown. But yeah, it was just quiet. Post-COVID, I hit the ground running and just got as much work as I could out there, just to make up for that period where I was doing nothing, like just in the house. Yeah, it was it was weird. Post-COVID, still a little weird. Like, it doesn't feel as busy as it did pre, you know.
And so now, are you, what are you doing for work? Are you painting murals full time, or you're doing graphic design, or?
Yeah, so I work full-time in finance, sort of. That's my full-time thing. I won't talk too much about that, just because, like, there's contracts and things. But
So you ended back up doing maths?
yeah. Yeah, I did. That's just, well, you know, things have quieted down. I need to pay rent, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still paint a ton. I still draw a lot. I'm just trying to prioritize making sure there's food on the table, paying rent, and, you know, having a happy life with my partner.
What do you think are some of the challenges for you of being an artist in Aotearoa?
It's saturated here, I feel. Maybe it's a hard question. I guess it's not seen as an important industry here. That's just in my opinion. Like, I know other countries deal with artists a lot better than us. There's support out there, but it's not a lot. Like, trying to get grants is impossible in New Zealand. It takes so much work.
Why do you think the arts are so undervalued here?
I mean, I get it. People look at it like, oh, it's just a painting on a wall. Why is that important? I think people don't realize the significance, like how it can affect people emotionally day to day, seeing that. I think it's better than seeing just grey all the time, you know? Like, there's studies for it, you know, that it does affect you emotionally. Having, like, you know, visuals around you, imagery around you all the time is good.
Imagine if there was no music in the world.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Imagine if there's no fashion in the world. Imagine if there's no architecture in the world. And I'm not even talking about art, you know, in a general sense. I'm talking about creativity, you know, and just art happens to be the medium, right? Imagine if you didn't have those things. We'd all wear the same clothes. If there's no music, there's no mood, there's no vibe. There's no visual stimulation. All the buildings would just be squares.
Yeah, that word, visual stimulation.
You know, what type of world would that be? And to have a country that doesn't support those things, you know, and to frame our identity here, you know, to the rest of the world. I always find that an interesting thing.
And like when you compare, say, Auckland to Melbourne, like Melbourne's such a melting pot for art, and Auckland just does not have that. Like, that comparison there always shocks me. And we've got so many creatives here, like, it would be worth supporting, especially when we're a leading industry. We make a lot of profit for the country. But it's just not seen as important.
So recently you painted the pavilion. What was your kind of concept for what you painted on that?
I just wanted to paint things that I like. I'm really into the color purple at the moment, so lots of purple. I really love the chains now. I think they're cool. Visually, they look cool. I also love triangles. I think they bounce off of each other really nice. It's a good juxtaposition. Yeah, and then the bones. I don't know what that was. I just saw the way the pavilion's set up, and I thought it'd be funny to have them as bones.
Responding to the shapes and forms.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And kind of just in closing, have you got any upcoming projects or things that you're kind of working towards?
Yeah, I'm working out in Otara in October, painting a big mural there, and I'm also, at the moment, I am a Converse All-Star for their program, so I'll be with them for a year, painting out and about, going to their events. That's a really cool funding program. So you have to apply, they select artists all around the world, and they take you to Converse All-Star camps where all the artists meet. You will pay. It's like a networking system. It's so cool. I think it's everything. It can be anyone. They might have an age limit. I think 28. But yeah, just anyone. You can be a musician, you can be an architect, you can do anything, and they'll 100% support you and promote you and take you to networking events. It's cool.
Amazing. And I guess just in closing, if there was some advice to your 18-year-old self, looking back now, or you know, as a kid that's about to finish high school, you know, and then go into a certain direction of study or as a career, what would be, you know, 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you'd give them if they wanted to get involved in the arts?
Yeah, create more. Keep working. Like, I know you're getting lazy, but you gotta paint some more. Get out there and just paint. Like, even if no one wants to see it, it doesn't matter. Don't listen. Talk to your mum. It's a terrible kid. Talk to your mum. She's got industry experience. She'll lead you down the right paths. Yeah, I think talking, networking. Just get out and go. See other artists, meet other people. They don't even have to be painters. Like, talk to musicians, talk to anyone that's in that creative space, and they'll have the same brain as you. They'll get it. That would be probably my advice.
In closing, do you have any final shout outs or acknowledgements that you would like to make to anybody that's maybe, I guess, helped you along the way?
Oh yeah, I want to thank everyone. All of the artists that I've met so far, Saya, Hazza, Talk, Gary, you, Fats, Diva, all of those people have been so, like, pinnacles to me. They've pushed me so far. And my mum. My mum is like an angel. She's the best. Like, she loves me in whatever I do. And I think that's so important, just having someone in your thing. And my partner. My partner's great. He deals with my, you know, BS. Like, I could thank everyone. Like, anyone who's kind of chatted with me about little things, given me advice, like, they've all made me better. And I'll continue to get better.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, Eva. We'll wrap it up here. Really appreciate your insights, and yeah, stoked to have you on board to be able to paint this pavilion. I'm sure there will be more opportunities for us to link up and do things in the future. And yeah, just stoked to hear about your journey so far, and I know there's going to be many more awesome things along the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a bit of a dream. I've watched them for a while.
Yeah, love it. All right, we'll wrap it up.
To our audience, if you managed to sit through the entire video, we hope that was insightful, and as always, a huge thanks to Ed from Eke Panuku Development for funding this project and continuing to enable public art to be accessible for the community. We hope that by providing the pavilion as a platform for artists, they can showcase their work and help to enrich some of the spaces which are used by the community. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Pavilion Project. Peace.